Hey everyone, it's Yajin here with Gimme CrossFit, and today we're going to talk about teas and how teas impact your body fat. And we're going to answer the questions, can tea really help reduce body fat? And first of all, before we dive into that, this is not regarding any type of weight loss supplement or weight loss tea that you might see, at the supplement store or on the, shelf. I've even seen these at like Marshall's or TJ Maxx, but me personally, I'm not a big fan of those things. I'm kind of skeptical to the ingredients that go in them, and I find that a lot of those ingredients might not belong inside of our bodies. And you've seen or heard of reports where this is causing like organ damage and stuff. Anyways, this isn't to kind of cover that topic. That's something we'll save for another video there. This is talking about the regular teas that you might find in your grocery store, like loose leaf teas or in a tea bag, like your green teas, black teas, white teas, dandelion tea, Rubio's tea. One of them just slipped my mind. But anyways, we're going to talk about those kinds of teas and what effects they have on our body fat and whether or not they can actually reduce the body fat that we're carrying right now, right? So before we cover that though, I want to cover a really simple formula or equation that we're going to use to get a better understanding of how these effects directly impact our bodies, which is just the calories in versus calories out equation. And you've probably heard this before, but within our bodies, body fat is basically a way for our body to store energy. Imagine our body has two batteries. One's going to be a short-term battery and one's going to be a long-term battery. Now, when this short-term battery reaches 100% or past 100%, it can no longer hold on to any of that charge or energy, right? That's what happens when we consume too many calories and we're not able to use it up in the short term. Your body's going to take all that remaining energy and then basically pump it into our backup battery so it can save it on for later use. And an easy way to kind of determine how much of that energy is going to get transferred from one to the other, and this is a really simplified equation, so it's really just used for demonstration purposes only, but calories in versus calories out. So if we take the calories in and subtract it by the calories out, we're going to be here with our remaining calories, and that's going to determine whether we're holding on to the fat or getting rid of that fat, the energy that's stored inside of our bodies, right? Because think about it this way, if we reduce the calories in and now the calories in is below the calories out, we're going to end up with a negative output. That negative output means that we're subtracting energy from our reservoirs, versus if our calories in are too high, maybe we're eating too much Cheetos, and that exceeds our calorie expenditure, and now we're at a surplus, so we're gaining body fat that way. Okay, so just kind of remember this equation. We're going to jump back to it a couple times throughout this video. Now, before we move on to talk about the effects that various teas have on our bodies, do me a quick favor here, drop down, give us a quick like. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. I'm trying to put out videos like this all the time, in fact, every day at this point. And if you have a friend or family member who might benefit from this information, do us a favor, share it with them. We're hoping that it can help them out as well. So with that being said, let's dive back into the video here. Now we're gonna go into the various effects that teas have on our body weight and our body fat in general, right? And I've looked at various different types of teas and basically summed it up into 5 points. And those 5 points are appetite suppression or appetite reduction, flavonoids, and the effect that those have on fat absorption, caffeines or stimulants, fat mobilization, and then the diuretic effect or bowel movements. Okay, so let's cover the diuretics and bowel movements and kind of like get that out of here, because realistically, that effect doesn't actually have any benefit to our fat loss, right? A diuretic is pretty much just going to make you pee more, get rid of any water weight, not any water weight, but get rid of some of that water weight that you're holding there, which doesn't have anything to do with your body fat, right? Our bodies contain a lot of water. So if you see your weight actually fluctuate a lot on a regular basis, it could be just the amount of water that you're holding at that particular moment. Okay, so teas that have that diuretic effect honestly aren't doing much for your body fat. Same way as if the tea's laxative and makes you use the bathroom, gives you bowel movements, you're getting rid of things in your digestive system. You're not actually, reducing any body fat from that. You could be getting rid of body fat through your bowel movements. However, that would be something completely separate. Now, that leaves us with 4 effects that these teas can have on our body. So the first one we're going to dive into is appetite reduction or appetite suppression. Now, that's going to impact our calories in, right? Basically, you're going to find this with some coffee as well. And the way that this happens is sometimes through the compounds within the tea, sometimes it happens through the caffeine that we're consuming. Caffeine tends to also have the appetite suppressing effect. As far as types of tea you're going to find this in, again, anything with caffeine in it, green tea, white tea, black teas. Peppermint tea doesn't contain caffeine. However, due to the compounds inside of it, will also produce this appetite reduction or appetite suppressing effect that it has. And this is, again, going to impact the calories in, because if our appetite isn't the same as if we weren't drinking this tea, then we're not going to consume as much food, therefore not going to consume as much calories as if we had a regular appetite without the tea, right? So second one we're going to dive into are flavonoids, and you're going to probably have heard this term catechins or the ECGC that's found inside of green tea. That's a really popular one with any fat burning supplements or like fat burning teas that you might see there on the market, and a lot of articles get published on that as well. And basically what that's going to do is impact the way your body absorbs fat in part. All right, we're going to touch base on the second point later, but part of this is going to impact your body's way to absorb fat. Now, fat is basically a nutrient. You know, we have our fats, we have our carbs, we have our proteins, but fats are the most energy dense nutrient actually, with 9 calories per gram compared to 4 calories per gram with proteins and carbohydrates. So with some of these flavonoids that you're going to find inside of teas, what they're going to do is actually reduce the amount of body fat that your body is able to absorb, therefore lowering our calories in within that formula. Okay, now third effect we're going to dive into here is having to do with caffeine or any type of stimulants that are within the tea. Now, we also have to understand that when it comes to the calorie in and calorie out, when we take a look at calories in, that usually has a lot to do with what we're eating and how much we're eating, right? If you eat more, you're going to increase your calories in. If you eat foods that are very calorically dense, it's also going to increase our calories in. Now, on the calories outside, that has a lot to do with our basal metabolic rate, otherwise what people call our metabolism, resting rate metabolism, and also how much we move. Now, out of all the factors that we can control within that calorie out formula, most of it has to do with how much physical activity we get on a regular basis, but at the same time, how much muscle mass we have. So those are kind of the 2 things that we can control. Now, again, back to the caffeine and the stimulants, what those will do is basically increase our metabolism through a process called thermogenesis. Sorry, I got my notes up on the board, so I'm trying to process all of this here too. So that's going to help increase our metabolism, and therefore the calories out is going to go up. We're going to burn more calories that way. Now, I do want to point out, when it comes to caffeine and stimulants, you do want to be careful about what type of stimulants you are consuming for this sake, and that with most stimulants, caffeine included, they tend to have an effect that your body can build a tolerance up for. So over time, they won't be as effective as when you just got started with this. I also want to point out that the effect of caffeine on weight loss or fat loss in particular tends to be significantly more effective in lean individuals. So lean individuals have shown an increase in about up to 29% metabolism based off of caffeine consumption, versus individuals who were already obese only saw a benefit of about a 10% increase, which honestly is not that much, right? So when it comes to caffeine, you also want to pay attention to how much, you don't want to end up taking a bunch of tea or drinking a bunch of tea or caffeine and end up staying up all night. That's going to have terrible effects on your health, your well-being, and that's actually going to impact your weight loss or fat loss in a negative way thereon. So be real careful of how much of that you're taking in there. So after caffeines and stimulants, the final one that I'm going to touch base on are compounds within these teas. And similarly to how the flavonoids can impact your body's ability to absorb the fat, Some of these compounds can also impact your body's ability to mobilize fat cells. So basically, we all have body fat, around our bellies, around our legs, all around our body. Now, these are little storage areas of those fat cells. And what happens when your body needs to pull those fat cells out to use as energy, it needs to retrieve them. So some of these compounds makes it easier for your body to retrieve or release these fat molecules into your bloodstream so that we can take it out and use it as energy. However, I want to point out that when our body does this, when our body takes these fat cells, breaks them apart, and brings it into our bloodstream to be used as energy, it doesn't actually do anything unless we actually use them, right? So an analogy that I want to make with this, it's kind of like if you're playing Mario Kart or some sort of racing game and you get a power-up, right? The power-up's going to make you go faster. However, you're not going to go anywhere if you take your foot off of the gas, right? So think of this as kind of like a power-up. If you're exercising a lot on a regular basis, this is going to help your body get rid of more of those fat cells. At the same time, if you're taking this and not really making any changes to your regular physical routine, not increasing your physical activity, it's not going to do anything for you, right? So those are kind of the 5 points or the 5 areas where tea can be affecting or impacting your body weight and your body fat overall. So I want to kind of bring it back to calories in, calorie out, because overall, based off of these 5 points that we've covered, most of them don't have that significant of an effect on a regular basis. Again, caffeine is one of those that definitely shows some promising effect. If you're already in a lean, your body fat's already relatively low. So what other ways are you able to better, trigger your body's ability to burn body fat without having to take all these teas or supplements or things that have really a very minor effect on the actual output? Well, the easiest thing would be to reduce your calories in, right? You've probably already heard it's hard to outwork a bad diet, which is really true, because you eat like a pint of ice cream and there goes a couple hundred of calories. And if you ever try to run on a treadmill for a couple hundred of calories, you're gonna know it's just not something you want to do. So if you are able to, right from the get-go, eliminate things like processed foods, try to cut out any added sugars that are within your diet, that's going to significantly reduce the calories in that you consume on a regular basis, therefore hopefully dropping it far below the calories out, that maybe not far below, but below the calories out enough where now you're in a state of negative calorie consumption and you can start burning that body fat that your body has stored inside, of your fat tissue there. Now, over to the calories outside of the formula, move more, right? I think there's a lot of truth in the simple statement of, if we want to lose weight or lose fat, then just eat less and move more. Because as simple as it is, it's true. Because if thinking back to how our formula or equation works in this case, when we eat less, calories in goes down. When we move more, calories out goes up, and there we put ourselves into the perfect stage where our body starts to shed that unwanted body weight there. So that was kind of a brief overview of how teas impact your body weight and your body fat, how our body kind of works with body fat, and hopefully that gave you a little more insight and hopefully something that you can take away and start implementing into your own lifestyle today. If you are out there trying to reduce your body fat and live a healthier lifestyle, hopefully this video was helpful to you. So if there's any other topics that you would like me to cover, go ahead, drop them in the comments below. Shoot me a message if you prefer, and I'd be happy to chat with you about that. Now, one last thing to ask you for, if you haven't already, go ahead, drop down, hit that like button. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. We're always trying to get videos like this out on a regular basis. And finally, if you have friends or family members that would benefit from watching this video, go ahead, share it with them. Make sure we can help get the message out to them. So thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned.